All right, now you're good. Maybe tilt it up a little bit so we can get the Chinar poster.
Everybody loves the Chinar poster.
Everybody loves it. Dude, so many comments that we get are about the Chinar poster. Everybody loves that shit.
It's from the 70s, and it's huge. Like, I feel like you don't get a good scale of it when it's behind me back there, but it's like 5 feet tall.
It's very big. It's a very big poster. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you've seen it because you've been here, but when you're up close to it, you can see it's on that paper that's like 50% cloth, right? So it's not just paper.
You can almost see see how it would feel if you were to just stroke it a little bit.
It's built to last. Yeah, everyone wants to know how it feels when you stroke it a little bit.
Yeah, but we tell them that's why you have to become a regular on the Patreon. We can't give that shit away for free legally,
this is top
but also
quality.
just, not to undersell ourselves.
This is top quality B-roll right here.
So you don't shun the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil runs his groove in them rhythm and blues that sound. It's gonna get you some in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Sother Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson, and we had a fun article in the news today. We always like to break some news. That's why our listeners tune in here, Sother, is for the breaking news on the top of the show. Yeah, exactly. This is where we are actually outranking both Rachel Maddow's podcast and the Bulwark on the news feed. Yeah, exactly. So
I do love the Bulwark.
We're not. Don't at us, guys. If you're even paying attention, that's a bit.
Please don't fact check that.
Please don't sue us. But we did have some fun stuff to cover in the news, specifically about a regional cuisine that I was not aware of. Mm-hmm. This is an article that was sent to me and written by a friend of the pod, JJ Harder. That's his real name, by the way. And he turned me on to this very specific Nebraska dish called chili and cinnamon rolls. Have you heard about this, Sother? The name is self-explanatory. There's no mystery beyond that. Are you aware of this as a specific regional dish?
I'm not, but I will say my immediate thoughts as you said it are, I know that many a chili maker uses cinnamon as a quote unquote secret weapon in their recipe, in their dry rub, so that makes sense. And I know that many chilies are served with either kind of a yeasted bread or a cornbread. Cinnamon rolls are yeasted, so this I can see how this might track. Yeah, the sweet part is throwing me, but like sweet plus savory is common, right? Like maple syrup with your bacon. I don't know. Talk to me about this.
Well, yeah, it's it appeals to the brunch apologist in me, first of all. I hate brunch. I know you do, but I love it. It warms the simplest, most basic part of my heart. That sort of childlike whimsy that just loves pancakes. I feel like I need to nurture in this cruel, cold world. But more than that, I think I'm just delighted at its existence because the world is flat and getting flatter all the time. Everyone knows what a Wisconsin old fashioned is. Everyone knows that if you go to certain bars in the Midwest, RIP Palmer's, by the way, you can get a giant thing of hams with olives at the bottom of it, and it's called a poor man's martini. Mm-hmm. Nashville hot chicken is everywhere. Philly cheesesteaks are all over the place. There's something really delightful about finding an odd little regional cuisine in a pocket of the country that you don't hear much from and kind of think, oh, that's interesting. And I want to get meta about it. I want to do discourse on the discourse, and I want to talk to you. Like, what is it that appeals to us about finding a dish and saying, I didn't know about that. That's cool.
I think we're, maybe we like to explore at heart, and this is a way to travel without travel, right? I can make chili and I can get cinnamon. And you didn't really talk about how this is served, but I can make chili and I can have a cinnamon roll beside it or on it or in it. I don't know how. And I can travel to Nebraska through that cuisine, right? Through that piece of that little window. What I worry about though is when you talk about, you haven't told us anything, but so tell us more about this. When you talk about this, how old is it? Is this new? Is this something created for Instagram? Granted, it may or may not be delicious, but is this a new thing? And that's where the world gets flat but bumpy. I don't want to discover something new to me that is also simply new. I want to discover things that are regional because they've been around and stood the test of time. Where does this land?
So you make a very good point. This goes back to
Good job.
I know that's what we do here on the Speakeasy. We make good points into live microphones.
Yeah, let's go.
So the article, we'll link it in the show notes too. It's very extensive. JJ did a lot of research on this one. Shout out to JJ. The dish dates back as a specific combo to either the late 19th or early 20th century. So it's been with us for a minute.
That's some history.
Yeah. He breaks down I believe 7 different categories of ways that people eat this. So it's either served with a cinnamon roll on the side and chili, and you finish the chili and then you eat the cinnamon roll, kind of do one and one, you eat your dinner and then you have your dessert. You can break up the cinnamon roll and sprinkle it into the chili. You can use the cinnamon roll to eat the chili. And then there are some real twisted fucks out there who put a cinnamon roll at the bottom of a bowl and just pour chili on top of it and eat their way down to the cinnamon roll. So even within this, our guest is being very patient, but is making a weird face as he tries to envision what this is like. But yeah, it's cool that within this regional variance, there are even further variances based on tradition and personal preference. And he has some people in that article throwing shade on the way that other people eat it. It's kind of like when I did a piece for. So
they're not only defending their dish, they're defending the way
their specific way of eating it. Yes, exactly.
I would think it would be mood striking, right? Like when I have let's say chili with cornbread, I would do any of those depending on my mood. I think, frankly, I probably fall to more the last one, right? Let's put it in the bottom and dump it over. That's very Southern, right? Let's have biscuits and gravy. Biscuits on the plate, gravy piled on top.
Yep. I don't know. And never having tried this, I don't know if this would be one of those things where I would also give myself the freedom to experiment based on my mood, or if I would find a way to do it and be like, this is the way I'm always doing it. Like if I am going to Bagel Boy and I'm hungover, I think about getting something else every single time, but I always get sausage, egg, and cheese, American with hot sauce. I'm just like, there's no any other way to do it. I see you out there, bacon, egg, and cheese people. I can hear you through time when this airs on Friday. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it hits it scratches a specific itch in my brain. And I'm like, why would I do it any other way? So
sure.
I love this. I love that this is a thing. I think it's weird and I think it's fascinating, but also I think there's something nice about realizing that there are things left to be discovered. You were talking about hoping that this wasn't an Instagram trend. And I think part of the problem with, let's call it the rainbow bagel phenomenon is that it creates this flattening of the
rainbow cronut bagel.
Oh God. Yes. How many ways can we saw this baby in half? But there is, I think, a sort of almost kind of despair in the idea that you're never really gonna encounter something new in your cuisine and in your cocktails, and finding out, oh, there's some real twisted perverts out there who are dumping spicy chili all over cinnamon rolls. That's cool. Listen, a nice reminder how diverse the world is.
I'm 100% on board with this. I'll try it for sure.
Yeah, perverts was a compliment, by the way. That was that. I said that with all the love in my heart.
Yeah, I reserve actually 1%. I'm 99% on board, unless of course there are beans. I'm going to cause a riot in the comment section. Beans do not belong in chili. What you've made now is some sort of bean stew. You've eschewed chili and moved into another plane, which is fine, but don't tell me it's chili.
Hot take. I agree.
All right.
I'm really looking forward to this episode going viral with this controversy that we've stirred up.
Yeah, that we've stirred right into our chili.
Also, beans and cinnamon rolls. That feels like a hard limit to me. That feels like that would be a weird combination. But I don't know. Maybe I haven't tried it. Speaking of things I haven't tried that exist on other planes and bring weird flavors into people's lives, our guest today, I'm really excited to have him on. He has worked at Baba Beach Club in Thailand. He's worked at Lobster Bar in Hong Kong and at Maison Premiere and Ye's Apothecary here in New York City. He is a former competitive skateboarder and current bar manager of LenLen, which is a Thai bar in the Flatiron district. We have Rob Lam-Burns. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to speak with some legends.
Yeah, where do you stand on the chili cinnamon roll situation?
The thing
just
is,
to get started.
I don't. The thing is, I think baked beans and cinnamon rolls would go well. So I don't know.
That's true. I didn't
know if
consider
I
the baked
disagree
beans
with the beans in this, specifically with the cinnamon roll and the chili.
I was
I don't
thinking
think I
more
have a
lentils
problem
and garbanzos like that. That's a bit of a stretch for me.
Well, I mean, the different bean. Listen, I don't have a problem with beans and sweets. Let's look at especially even beans, sweets, baked pastries. Let's look at red bean cakes from Asia, right? So like I can see the bean being a player, but my literal die on the hill is once beans go into what you're calling chili, you've left chili behind and you've made something new. You've made bean stew of some kind. Chili is made of, shocker, mostly chilies and meat. There's some tomato product in there, but that's kind of there's 3 ingredients. I'll die on that hill.
But now you've added it to the cinnamon roll, so it's an entirely different dish.
Yeah, well, that cinnamon roll is an accompaniment. Like you can have some salad on the side of your chili or whatever. That's not a part of the chili. That's his.
I would try this dish though. It doesn't scare me. I would do the cinnamon rolled chili.
Well, yeah, because I think your career so far dictates that you are a pretty adventurous taster, right?
I mean, I think I've eaten some of the strangest things and some of the most interesting things in the world. I've eaten like pig brains and chicken testicles and.
Man, we used to have that for breakfast. In the deep South, buddy. Pig brains and eggs.
Yeah, little
Delicious.
chicken testicles, an afternoon snack,
like,
protein.
It was like tofu, to be honest.
Yeah, very much creamy.
Well, let's ground ourselves in the present and let's talk a little bit about LenLen because you're doing a lot of. I don't know. I didn't see chicken testicles on the menu, but if you were told me that it was hiding in there somewhere, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not trying to scare the folks in Gramercy too much, but
you got to lead that horse to water slowly.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So we're a Thai bar and restaurant. We're open till 1 a.m. trying to serve food and drinks until 1 a.m. Like obviously we are in the heart of Manhattan, so we're not doing anything crazy out of the ordinary. Like we have some dishes that are exceptional and unique to like modern Thai cuisine. Like we have this crab durian curry that is like unheard of in terms of like any Thai restaurants, just because people typically don't add fruit to curry, and durian being like the king of fruit or what it is in Southeast Asia. If I'm sure you guys know, it's been like banned in airports and
banned in hotels. Yeah, it's
all across Thailand, Indonesia, China. But we use like a really little bit in the curry, and it's like one of the most fantastic dishes that actually made me think a lot differently about the fruit, even though like I had lived in Southeast Asia and Asia most of my life. I was never a durian person until Peter, who is a chef owner, made this dish for me, and I was like really mind blown. And so we're working on a durian cocktail now too, so that's TBD. Let's
do a little sidebar for our listeners who haven't gotten a chance to try it. I'll let you take this one, Rob. Why is it not allowed in airports and hotels?
Yeah, let the listener know.
I mean, if you know what durian smelled like, you would be able to smell it from a block away. So
sulfurous, I think, is the polite way that I would describe it.
It's sulfurous. It's stinky for sure. It's an acquired taste. I think it's the fruit itself is impactful on its own. I think it goes best in dishes. It can have like this kind of juicy fruit taste when it's prepared in a certain way, which is delicious, and it can be like a mind-blowing flavor on its own. If you're a first timer and you're not from Southeast Asia, it can be quite difficult to handle.
Don't know what I was expecting the first time I tried it, but what I was expecting was not what it was.
Yeah, it's I think you hit it on the head. Actually, I've never heard anyone say that, but I've had it a few times. And juicy fruit is true, right? Except for like a juicy fruit piece of gum, you chew it for 30 seconds and the flavor is gone. The durian sticks with you a little bit longer.
If you've been to Chinatown Ice Cream Factory, they have a durian ice cream flavor. It tastes exactly like juicy fruit gum. It doesn't smell like durian. It doesn't taste like raw durian. It just tastes like juicy fruit.
Maybe they're just making it up.
Yeah, they could have just put a juicy fruit extract in there.
Well, listen, you mentioned earlier that you've lived in Asia most of your life, and now you're here in New York. Tell us a little bit about your backstory and how that informs what you're doing over here at LenLen.
Yeah, I mean, so growing up, I was born in New York. Like I'm definitely a New Yorker at heart. Early in my childhood, I moved with my parents to Hong Kong. My dad had been there since like the 60s, and my mom is Chinese, so we have family there. I basically grew up there, so I spent most of my teenage years living in Hong Kong. I grew up skateboarding a lot. Kind of that was my main tie to community there, and that's sort of the way that I grew up. And then spent some time in Southeast Asia, in Thailand, and back to Hong Kong, and back to New York, where I am. And I've been in New York since then. So for the past 6 or 7 years now, which feels like home. But yeah, I started bartending in Hong Kong and Thailand. Started working restaurants in Hong Kong. Thailand was really my first bartending job, and I was kind of trained there. And then went back to Hong Kong to work in Lobster Bar, which was like much more rigorous training. If you know about that bar, it was like one of the first real cocktail bars in Asia, one of the most influential, where like Egg Gong, who went to open like Old Man and Penicillin, was the bar manager there right before I got there. So there is like big legends that would come through that place, or have worked through that place. If you know also like Hong Kong hospitality and like hotels, there's a very rigorous training program you have to go through to work at places like that. So that was really like what primed me for coming back to New York and then working here and some of my favorite places that I've worked at.
I want to fast forward a little bit and shout out one of what might be a B-side on your resume, but it's a personal favorite of mine. Ye's Apothecary. Love that spot. And it feels like maybe that's where you might have gotten to stretch your wings a little bit the most in terms of putting unfamiliar flavors in front of people. Like, I love going there because there wouldn't just be like one savory drink on there that like, and this one's for the crazies. Like, half the menu would have odd flavor combinations and just flavors in general that I would not expect to see in cocktails. So we talked a little bit at the top of the show about how you have to maybe tiptoe up to getting the finance crowd to try some of these stranger ingredients in New York City. Was that kind of where you honed your methods of putting these odder flavors in front of people and seeing how they went over?
Well, first of all, I'm surprised that you go there. That's cool. That's awesome.
I stumbled on it totally by accident one day. I was just walking around and I was like, holy shit, this place rules.
Well, that was the first job where I was really making cocktails. I think did a little bit of R&D in Hong Kong for like competitions and stuff, but I was not really making cocktails. And so when I came back to New York, I took a break for like a year and a half because I wanted to go to school. And then I ended up I was like, I actually do need to work with my hands again and go back to hospitality. So I started working in the Chelsea Hotel and Ye's Apothecary at the same time, at like part-time at both places. And then the owners of Ye's asked me to be the head bartender, and I was like, are you sure?
You know what I'm going to put on the menu, right?
I was like, I was like 22. I was like, you want me to
Oh, damn.
like
cool.
You want me to have the keys to your bar? Are you sure you want that? And then, but I mean, it was really fun. I think I'm always I think now I have a better formula of how to develop cocktails. Back then, it was really just like me trying to throw things together and being inspired by certain ingredients. It's really the first time I was like starting to get excited about like all these ingredients that like sort of don't really work super well together in food all the time, but like kind of come together in liquid form in a way that's like new and fun and exciting. And also like I was a way for me to like recreate and like reimagine different drinks or different things that I liked growing up, especially because like they just wanted me to use my Chinese heritage and figure out a way to make fun and like nostalgic cocktails for people that wanted that kind of stuff, especially being like so close to Chinatown and the Lower East Side. And my cat wants to say hello.
Oh, hi. Who do we have here dropping into the podcast?
We got Simon.
Oh, hey, buddy. You were paying attention to something that wasn't him, and that wasn't allowed to stand.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he's okay. He's gonna He's gonna be here.
Well, can you maybe give us an example of what you're talking about, like a flavor combination that was nostalgic to you from your youth, or that you created that was, as you said, I'm going to go back and try and quote you, but like you said, flavors that don't necessarily work out in food, but seem to work out in liquid form. You got an example?
Yeah. I have a couple. I mean, I think the biggest standout drink at Ye's Apothecary that's probably still on the menu, it's called the Hong Kong Milk Punch. It's not exactly a crazy flavor combination, but it's a re-representation of a drink called the yin yang, which is like a coffee milk tea drink that people have in Hong Kong in the mornings. It's like one of the most caffeinated things you can drink ever. But I used to, like, before we went to go out and skate, we'd always like meet up for breakfast and like have like our like Hong Kong style Cantonese breakfast and like yin yang, and then like go out to skate. And so I think that was like, for Cantonese people, I think that was a banger, and like really taught me how to market drinks as well to people. And that was basically just like a combination of coffee and milk tea, and in sort of like a rum milk punch form. Some other stuff that we made that was really crazy, I used XO sauce in a drink once with Baijiu.
I think I tried that drink actually.
Yeah, it was a riff on the Cameron's Kick. It had like orgeat with lemon and Mao Tai and basil tomato XO sauce. It was a little bit crazy. I thought it was delicious. Everyone that likes XO sauce or grew up with XO sauce thought it was delicious. Everybody else thought it was disgusting, so we had to take it off, which is like the majority of people. And then, there was like a cheese foam drink that I made as well. I think that's at Red Sorghum, though. It's in Long Island City. Same ownership, but it's like the first one I made was with like tequila and ruby port, raspberry, honey, lemon, and then like a cream cheese foam on top, like boba basically. So it's like the savory layer, and then like this kind of like fruit cake honey thing at the bottom, kind of like a cheese board. But I like a juxtaposition and contrast like that.
Well, yeah, working at places like
kind of like chili and cinnamon rolls.
Exactly. Exactly like that.
Well, working at places like these seem like they give you the opportunity. I don't think people are wandering into these places that aren't maybe adventurous in the first place, both in their lifestyle and maybe what they would eat or drink. So it seems that you have a lot of leeway to get people to try things and push their palates around. But as you just said, there are spots where you run up against the wall. How do you deal with that? Is it a quick pivot? You take the thing off the menu and walk away as that was a loser, or do you try and like keep stuff on to see if it'll kind of like become a late blooming hero?
I mean, I think there's a point where you do have to take things off the menu for sure.
Oh yeah.
We were working on, like I said, a durian drink at LenLen, and I made one. We had one on the menu for a couple weeks, and it was, I think the presentation was a little bit like, it wasn't quite as elegant as it needed to be to also like drink durian. Like if you're drinking durian, it needs to like look and smell okay, right? It was sort of like, it was like a Ramos style drink with durian puree in it. It was, the first couple sips are like delicious, and as it warmed up, it didn't really get as great. So I think for that one, I'm like still just trying to make a durian drink, and that just comes from me taking it off the menu for a couple weeks and then reformatting it, reimagining it, and then figuring out a way to see where we messed up and then put it back in.
Can I ask an awkward question here? What didn't work about it? I'm very curious what piston you're currently fiddling around with in this drink to try and get it to really hum.
It was sort of it was like a cognac Calvados chocolate coconut cream durian drink with a little bit like emulsified with egg white. This has got too much stuff going on. I think it's got too much stuff going on. I really like to narrow down like flavors and have a concise idea of a drink. And I think the concept of this drink was in too many places all at once. And then there was like durian, and it was like surprise. So I personally was not as proud of it. And I think it didn't feel finalized. It didn't feel like it didn't feel dialed in. We have a couple of drinks that I do feel are dialed in. We have a drink called a sparkling colada. That's like a deconstructed pina colada, carbonated with allspice and pandan. And I think that's sort of, it's just like finished. It's like, it is what it is. And it's a sparkling colada, and it represents itself, and it represents how we think about like a poolside classic in a new modern way. I think the durian drink was like, there's too many things in this that are delicious, but it doesn't really make sense. And I think in general, that's how I think about making cocktails now as well.
A lot of times it comes to editing, right? You need to be like judiciously editing yourself, right?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice that I have sort of ever that I transfer from the world of cocktails to just life in general is that if when you're making something and it's not working, and the fixes you're employing that are trying to get it back on track are making it more complicated instead of less, it's a sign that you're going in the wrong direction, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I love tinkering with things, but also at the end of the day, it's a process that I think requires more like formula and thinking than it does actually like adding and subtracting and adding, subtracting.
Well, while we're talking about your process, I want to modify a question that I had in my notes here about how you come up with drinks, because I had originally wanted to ask if there was sort of like an edgelord edge to the way you came up with these drinks and sort of wanting to surprise and shock/delight people. But I'm sort of realizing as we're talking that I wrote that informed by my experience as a very white person, and what might be shocking and unexpected to me might be nostalgia for someone from Thailand or from Hong Kong or from somewhere else that you're drawing on. So I want to know, first of all, if there is a little glee that you get from freaking out the squares by putting these things on menus, but I also would love to know what sort of the split is between, you know, white folks like me coming in there and being surprised versus folks that are maybe from some of the traditions that you're pulling from coming in and saying, oh, I haven't seen exo sauce in a drink before. This is my Yoo-hoo chocolate milk, you know?
Yeah, I think the guests that came into Ye's Apothecary were very adventurous. I think they always wanted to try the things that looked weird on the menu. I think at LenLen, I don't want to surprise people too much. I want to, I got this from, I think giving people more than they expect. That's a line that I picked up from the EMP guidebook, Unreasonable Hospitality, but it was something
Will Guidara?
I'd thought about it for a long time. And then working with Will Elliott at Maison Premiere, he has the philosophy of like under promise, over deliver. And I was talking with him before in the conversation. And I think making things that look appealing to people on the menu, that look inviting, that aren't super scary. Like we have like a lemongrass gimlet, sparkling colada, jasmine martini, stuff that isn't like scary. And then it comes in front of you and it's like, that doesn't look like a pina colada, or that doesn't look like the martini that I was expecting, or I've never thought about like this flavor combination before. Or I mean, we have like the most experimental thing and shocking thing that we have on the menus, our tomato som tom cocktail, which is like papaya salad meets margarita, and there's fish sauce in there, and we clarify it with peanut milk, but the actual flavor is a lot softer than it looks like on paper, because the fish sauce doesn't actually taste fishy when you use it correctly. It's actually just a sort of like umami savory component. And when you use just the correct amount of it and you get the sauce right, which is really like the dressing for the papaya salad, it's not supposed to taste fishy at all. It's just supposed to taste like umami and give it that just that right amount of funk to make it interesting and delicious.
Yeah, just a little bit of contrast to really let the papaya stand on its own, you know?
You know, as a former chef, like I totally understand that approach. The notes we got about you said you get a lot of your inspiration taking walks around spice markets and things like that. How does that inform your creative process? Like talk about like where those things come from. And also, as a former chef, I'm curious to know that how much collaboration are you doing between the front of the house and the back of the house where you work?
Me and Chef collaborate a lot, especially while we were opening. So like the month that we were just in there together. I think a lot of I think Peter, who is our chef and owner, and really like one of the masterminds behind the whole program and sort of like aesthetic mastermind behind the entire thing. He has like brilliant ideas when it comes to culinary business, and like how he kind of understands what people want and how to push it in a direction where we find is interesting and other people find is interesting, and is also new and old and unique. I think we collaborate a lot on first of all how to simplify cocktails, like I said before, to kind of make them appealing to the general to a general audience, but then make them interesting to us at the same time and everybody else. So that kind of creates this feeling of like tradition, but also modernism and like contemporary technique. I think that for me, walking around and going to spice markets, Peter actually makes fun of me for this a lot, because like during the R&D process, I would just be stuck on something. And I just feel like I'm going out, and then I'll like leave for like 2 or 3 hours, and I'll come back, and he's like, where the hell have you been? And I was like, oh, I went to the Calusians, I went to Chinatown, I went to like wherever, to like go walk around and like figure out stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's usually like I'm stuck on a problem, and I'll go to wherever it is, if it's like the Indian spice markets on Lexington Avenue or down in Chinatown, and kind of look at ingredients, and like I'll have like, there's sort of like a keyhole in my head that I know there's like a spot I need to fill, and I can't figure out what it is until I go out and look at it. And also that could just be going out to another bar and then trying cocktails that I think might like have that ingredient that I think is good, or going out to eat something that I think might like spark that key.
There's definitely a difference between just sort of sitting there and closing your eyes and going through your own memory palace, trying to be like, okay, what are the flavors I know that could work? And actually going out and seeing them, you know, the sights and the sounds and the smells are obviously very helpful for this, but even just kind of seeing all those flavors laid out that way, I find is very, very helpful to be like, oh, I hadn't thought about using, you know, marigold, but that could really tie this together, or something like that, you know?
It's constantly like, we have a starfruit coconut ice cream thing that we just launched at LenLen. Well, we keep changing the market fruit, but once the starfruit came into the collection, or into the chef's sort of inventory, I forgot about that fruit for a long time, and so now we have a starfruit cocktail coming in. It's delicious, and it's going to be like a Jolly Rancher. But
these all sound fantastic, and I have to ask, because not because I think this is something you would do, but because this is definitely something I would do, like with access to all of these flavors and with what sounds like a pretty wide range to put unexpected and sometimes even odd things into cocktails. Is there like one on the menu that makes you kind of cackle like a mad scientist? Like, wait till they try this weird one that I've come up with. Not that it's bad, but just that it's going to be really, really out there. Because I would be tempted to do that, but maybe that's why I don't run a cocktail program and you do. Those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach podcast, you know?
That's right.
I mean, I think like the durian one was the funniest one to me. I think, well, there's two. There's one, we have like a 5-spice boulevardier that I think is really interesting, and it's probably like the most harmonious cocktail on the menu. It's like a cafe boulevardier with, but we infuse the rye with 5-spice and ghee. So I'll just like heat ghee on the stove with 5-spice in it, and then we'll throw it into a rye and then fat wash that.
Holy crap, that sounds good.
Yeah, and add a little bit of coffee liqueur and Campari. And it's like really simple. But for people that like spirit forward and stirred drinks, they're always a little bit mind blown by that. And then we like use leftover ghee to make a tuile with orange zest. So in place of like an orange zest, in place of an orange twist, It's gonna be like a tuile on the side, and that one I spent like hours in the kitchen with the pastry chef trying to figure out how to do. But and then like the sparkling colada, I garnish it with. I think when we first put this on the menu, I always thought I thought I was trying to make a joke of like it's a poolside classic, so I bought a bunch of like red 40 maraschino cherries, and we're been garnishing it with that. But I started laughing every time I dropped it, but no one else thought it was funny. So I guess that was just in my head. Everybody thinks maraschino cherries are still cool now, so I guess they're back in. But
the important thing is that you're amused. You know, that's my philosophy. That's the entire guiding light of how I run this show. If I'm entertained, I know it's going to go over well. But it sounds like it's less delighting and pushing people in a new direction and more you found something that you really enjoy and you're really into and you want to kind of beckon people over to where you are.
Yeah, like I said, like, I don't think being experimental has to be like super scary or I mean, I think some of the ingredients that we use, they're all very Southeast Asian and come from like Thai and Chinese heritage, but I don't think most people that come to the restaurant are super like put off by any of them. Like once in a while we'll get like our savory drink sent back, but it's not very common. I think people know what they're expecting when they come in. And I think the way that I tried to format the menu makes it so that people have a picture of what they're getting, and know what they want to stay away from and what they want to consume. And I do that by naming things more literally and also trying to like describe them as simply as possible. And then I also think that when I create cocktails now, I am more just trying to twist them a little bit in a direction instead of really
jump scares. You're not trying to pop out on anybody.
I don't really jump scare people, I think. And I think that's the formula and the direction that I like at the moment.
Again, I would, but that's probably why I'm legally banned from running cocktail programs in the state of New York.
As we're getting to the end of the show here, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. You know, when I was a young man, I was a sponsored skateboarder.
Notorious skate punk, Sother T.
That's right. And I want to talk a little bit about
who are you sponsored by?
Your time with skateboarding, right? Like, but you were mostly, from what I saw in the notes anyway, like a downhill speed skater. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I do both. So I grew up skating street at first, and I skate a lot of transition now. If I'm skating by myself, I go out and skate transition. But yeah, I was sponsored for skateboarding downhill. So we would go there. Competitions are more like races. It's like upwards of like 50, 60 miles an hour that you're competing against people. Yeah. And also like part of like me starting to bartend or like choose a career path in general was because I injured myself really bad at a race once when I was like 17. And then I decided that I need to think about a career or think about something else, or at least do something else for the meantime, and then come back to skateboarding and see how it feels.
A career that ideally moves at less than 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. There's a similar stress to being like in the weeds and like skating at 50 miles an hour, but
well maybe a similar adrenaline level.
Right? Yeah. It's like when you're dialed into something like that. Like some of my favorite shifts I ever worked was where it was just absolutely insane, and you just kind of, it almost feels like you punch through the matrix and you're just totally on autopilot and you're just flying. I haven't done anything nearly as cool or as extreme as going 60 miles an hour downhill on a skateboard, but some other athletic stuff that I've done when you're really in the zone, there's no other feeling quite like it.
No, I think that's one of the things that I initially attracted me to working behind the bar is being in the weeds. And I cannot stand being bored behind a bar. I cannot.
Oh, listen, I tell my teams all the time, if I don't find fifth gear for at least an hour straight, it's a pointless shift. Why did I come in?
Exactly. I'm also, now like the LenLen bar program is fantastic. It's just, I'm like everything is we're force carbonating and pouring and batching, and I'm like, I wish we had like more steps to everything, but it all tastes great. But I wish there was more steps to this.
Also, I don't know if you heard the question earlier, Sother. I don't know this about you. Who were you sponsored by when you were a skateboarder?
Me?
Yeah.
I was a shop sponsored by a shop called Trader Rick's, which is no longer existing. And then for 3 years, 88, 89, and 90, I was a Vision Streetwear. So like a not it was a subsidiary, right? It wasn't Vision Skateboards, Vision Streetwear. So I was sponsored with obviously clothes, lots of clothes, and they weren't allowed to pay us back then, because if you were paid, then you're a pro. I was shop sponsored and skate sponsored amateur. But what I would do is I would just be like, oh yeah, cool, I need 10 pairs of shoes, and then I would sell the shoes.
Was this in New York, or where was that?
No, I grew up on the North Gulf Coast of Florida.
Were you skating like street, transition, or
mostly street? The transition that we skated back then were all, pools. I grew up in a heavily tourist town, and for several months of the year, all the hotels would close and empty their pools, and we'd break in and skate their pools.
That's awesome.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway, that was a long time ago. What were you doing in 1988?
Gestating.
Yeah, exactly.
I was not alive.
I was 19.
You bring up a fun point there about how it's very, I mean, Sother, I know you still have your scooter habit here in New York, and Rob, it sounds like that's kind of, I don't know, is meditative the right word to use for the part of your life that it fits into now?
You mean
skateboarding?
Yeah, it's both social and meditative. I think. Most of my friends that aren't like in the service industry are mostly skaters. So it's like a nice break from working in bars and that kind of social scene. I think it's also meditative as well. There's like, I get to a certain point where I'm like, why am I so frustrated all the time? It's like, because I haven't skated for a while. But I also like, I bike in the city and do all other sorts of things, like sort of like mitigate the adrenaline that I feel like I need.
Well, yeah, speaking of things to do in the city that are, meditative and help to kind of clear your brain and get you from one track that you might be thinking on to another, where are you drinking these days? What are some of your favorite spots to go to kick back and relax and reset yourself before you have to go back to LenLen?
Yeah, I mean, I go to more dive bars and pubs these days than I do cocktail bars. But I mean, I have a great appreciation for people's craft as well. I love this bar on 7th Street, Blue and Gold Tavern.
Love Blue and Gold. Oh my God. That's my neighborhood.
I get a High Life and a shot of Evan Williams for like $8. It's
hell yeah.
Very, very cozy. And like, I love like the little booths there, and the pool table is perfect. And they have little games and stuff, and it's like very just relaxing when you just like be somewhere, not be seen, and like just like feel like I'm in like a hug of like a bar. Otherwise, I love In Between, which is our sister bar in Chelsea. I think they have some of the best new Asian cocktails in the city. And in terms of cocktails, I also go to Little Branch a lot. Which is great when they have jazz and classic cocktails. I just love the space of that bar a lot.
Yeah.
Super historic, also just really cool in general.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's beautiful over there.
Been too long since I've been to either of those spots. I should hit them up.
It's been too long since I've been to Ye's, man. I need to go check that out, and we need to come and visit you at LenLen.
Please.
Yeah. And obviously we'll, link your Instagram in the show notes, but if people wanted to follow along with what you're doing and follow the bar, where can they find you online?
My Instagram handle is rob.hLSS. And LenLen's Instagram handle is lenlen.myc.
Awesome. Go over there, check it out. I will go there and check it out. Maybe if you are listening to this and you come and check it out, you'll see me checking it out, and we can check each other out, and that'll be fun.
We should all check it out.
Let's all check each other out. Yeah, exactly. All we have in this world is each other, Rob, this has been super fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Really, really interesting to hear about some of the stuff you're doing, and I'm excited to when this Durian cocktail comes together. I'm excited to try it.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was great to be on conversing with you two. Yeah, I hope to see you soon.
I'm sure we will, man. It is a small, small bartending world. But for now, that is going to do it for this week's show. But if you want to stick around for one more, you can become a regular on our Patreon. Our regulars get extra interviews, no ads, cocktail recipes from all of our guests, access to our live monthly hangouts, and a free cocktail kit each and every month from our friends at Shaker and Spoon. As always, I just want to remind everyone that only about 60-ish% of our chat with Rob made it onto the main podcast feed. So if you want to hear the whole dang thing, you can become a regular today. Speaking of our monthly hangouts, the next one is fast approaching. We were off in December for the holidays, but we'll be back at it Monday, January 26th at 8 p.m., which means it's the day after Burns Night, which means, Sother, are we going to coordinate outfits? Is that a thing we're going to do for that?
I mean, I can wear a kilt if you can.
I can absolutely wear a kilt. I can always wear a kilt. People just ask me not to a lot of the time.
My assumption is you'll be hungover.
Well, yes, and my assumption is that you won't, because you're a beneficiary of this absurd genetic quirk that means that it never happens to you. But I'll tell you, it's not as fun as it seems like it is.
I'm not envious, believe me.
Yeah. Well, I have a sense that Scotch will be involved. So if you want to join that, feel free to follow along for the details and become a regular. Speaking of matching outfits, Sother, you have another podcast outfit with Sauced. How's the new show going?
Sauced is great. It's my new show with Tim McCurdy, a show all about cooking with booze and drinking with food, where we tackle classic recipes that involve alcohol, break them down to their brass tacks, put them back together, and then we talk about what we would drink while either making the dish or eating the dish or both. And it's a ton of fun. Our first show just launched last week. Our second show dropped yesterday, and it's great. So come join us and let's get sauced.
Absolutely. It's a fun time. Obviously, if you're listening to the show, you think Sother's a fun time. Tim is fantastic. The two of them have a really fun relationship on that show. So definitely go and check it out.
Yeah, two former chefs who are now cocktail nerds. And this is just a great way for us to stretch those muscles of being in the kitchen and then, add drinks to the mix as well. So we're having a blast.
Yeah. We also both just have very soothing voices, I have to say. It's a good, sonically, it's an enjoyable experience to tune in for. And be sure to tune into this show next week when our guest is going to be Paul Finn of Little Gem in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Well, Paul's back.
Yeah, Paul, one of the nicest guys in this entire business. I'm super excited to talk to him about his new place 1 week from today. But until then, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that